We are back here on Southern Sports Now. It's a football Friday, and we're looking forward to the high school games tonight, full slate of college games tomorrow, and we're going to talk a little college football now as we welcome on Brad Law. He is with the Auburn Sports Network. Brad, always great to talk with you. How are you today?
Chase, always a pleasure. Doing great. We're the day before homecoming on the Plains. It's a high school football Friday. Absolutely love living in the state of Alabama in the fall. It's wonderful.
Yes, it is, and it's starting to feel a little bit like football season now.
Yeah, I know it. You know what? Last weekend we were in California, and mid-70s were the highs and the lows. You know, you sit outside and eat at the restaurant the night before the game. It felt magnificent, and now you come back, and it feels like we brought a little bit back with us. Yes, it does. And I want to go back to the Cal game last week for a little bit. I know we talked heading into the game, the way the itinerary was that Auburn was going to go out there, I think, on Thursday. Had a lot of time to sit around and wait for a 9:30 game. It was I was watching, listening to it late into Saturday night, Sunday morning. How do you think that aspect of it was and went for the Auburn Tigers of playing that late game and just kind of adjusting their schedule to being out on the West Coast? I think they were able to manage it well enough to win the game. I think there's no question that it had an effect. Football is such a game of routine. Players have a routine, coaches have a routine, and even road games have their own rhythm. And so when you get out of that rhythm, it can be tough sometimes. Even, you're there, well, they were there an extra day, right? It's not like they were rushed. No, but the rhythm was different. The routine was different, and that does matter. I think back to 2014 when Auburn went out to Kansas State, and they played on a Thursday night. And that was a top 5 Auburn team at the time of that game. It was, the year 2 of Gus Malzahn and the offense, year 2 of Nick Marshall as the quarterback. That offense put up some big numbers that year. But that night in Manhattan, Kansas, Kansas State was a quality opponent. They weren't a top 10 team, but they were a quality opponent on their home field. And Auburn put up 20 points, scored 20. The next 2 games, Auburn scored 45 and 41, respectively. And they scored 42 or 3 more times that year. But when the routine is vastly different, sometimes the production mirrors the fact that it's vastly different. And I thought that was a factor in the Cal game. Thankfully, we're talking about a game that Auburn was able to find a way to win anyway, but I don't think there's any question that the change in routine made at least some impact out there.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned it is a win, 14-10. Auburn able to leave the state of California with a win. As you watch the game unfold, and I know a lot of folks are talking about the offense, specifically the quarterbacks. As you watched quarterback play unfold there in Cal, your thoughts on Peyton Thorne, Robbie Ashford, and how that kind of the 2 quarterback system is working right now for Auburn?
Yeah, I thought in the Cal game specifically, the first drive, Peyton got rattled a little bit because he had the fumble that was caught and returned, and very well could have been a pick 6 for Cal. And I think he started pressing a little bit and didn't want to make any more mistakes in the game. And so, credit Cal's defense a little bit too in that they've been one of the top half of the Pac-12 defenses now since Justin Wilcox has been there as the head coach. The offense has struggled, but the defense has been right there. Credit their defense, but yeah, I think Peyton got rattled a little bit early, and they started looking, especially in the second quarter, for a spark offensively, a little juice, something to get the offense in rhythm. Again, Cal's defense kept them off the field, kept the Auburn offense off the field by stopping third down plays. But specifically, the question about the quarterbacks, I don't think you'll see the same rotation as a plan A that you saw as a plan B. I think there's a reason that there's plan A and plan B. And I think what you saw at Cal was plan B, and they may tweak plan B, but I think plan A remains. Peyton Thorne's your starting quarterback, and Robbie has special packages.
How have you seen Robbie just from all the time we saw him last year to what you've seen from him this year? Because you think about Hugh Freeze, very quarterback-centric guy. He's developed great quarterbacks. Philip Montgomery is a quarterback developer as well. How have you seen Robbie Ashford develop being under those two guys at Auburn?
Yeah, there are guys who understand the technical aspects of quarterback play a whole lot better than I do, but I think one of the things that impressed me most about Robbie is the way he handled not being named the starting quarterback. He's been accepting of the role that he's going to play on this team, and it's an important one. Auburn will win games because of Robbie Ashford this year, and so being healthy certainly makes a difference. And I also don't think we've seen yet, Chase, the full complement of what they may ask Robbie to do this year. He hasn't thrown the ball downfield a lot. He's targeted a couple of receivers downfield in the first two games, has not connected on one of those longer throws yet. But I think you're going to see more and more of his arsenal in these packages, because you can't just run him all the time. Defenses are key on that, and they will stop it. Cal, to a degree, had some success doing that. So I think you'll continue to see the progression and the development of Robbie Ashford throughout this season.
On the defensive side of the ball, what do you like about this group that the Tigers have on defense? Thought they played exceptionally well and against Cal and getting some big-time stops. What do you like about the group?
I like that there are at least a couple of guys and more that are behind the scenes that have really taken up the mantle of leadership for this bunch. In the first year of a coaching transition, you need those guys who say, look, this is the way we do it now. This is the standard. You have to play to that standard. Marcus Harris is a guy from the Montgomery area. We're going to have him on our radio pregame show tomorrow. And he stayed after practice for nearly an hour earlier this week, taking the young defensive linemen, the freshmen, and putting them through extra drills, putting his hands on them, like, get down lower, you're too high. This is the standard we have to play and meet and reach at Auburn. And to have that in the first year of a new coaching regime means guys are bought in, and guys will pass that down from one class to the next. So I love the leadership of guys like Marcus Harris, Eugene Asante. I love that Kayan Lee is a true freshman cornerback that, in the absence of Nehemiah Pritchett the first two games, a veteran corner, has stepped in. Cal went right after him on the first play of the game. They tried to go play action, deep ball to the end zone, quick strike, and he knocked the ball away. He's played exceptional. There are leaders on this team, vocally and on the field with their play, both young and old, and that excites me. It's not the deepest or the most talented defense that Auburn's put on the field in the last decade, but there are some building blocks that are really firm foundation pieces moving forward.
Auburn back at home tomorrow. Samford will come from the Birmingham area down to Auburn, and another kind of in-state game. You don't see this a lot with big-time colleges, but I know Auburn, tries to play some of these in-state teams. And hey, Samford put together a great year last year in the FCS. So excited to see what the Bulldogs bring to the Plains.
Very, and Chris Hatcher is a well-respected offensive coach. They use a ton of different formations. They will throw the ball around the field to try to negate some pass rush. Western Carolina got to them 6 times. They had 6 sacks in last week's game. So Coach Hatcher, being the brilliant offensive coach that he is, he's going to scheme ways to try and slow down the Auburn pass rush. And so that's going to put a little more emphasis on the linebackers in pass coverage. They're going to try to get matchups. Auburn will try to counter that. And those cornerbacks and safeties, again, will be out there and tested a great deal by the Samford team. So, Auburn's got the better 11 one-on-one matchups on the field almost all of the time. I don't think this is a game we're talking about Auburn winning or losing, but it is a game you're talking about a tune-up and a primer before conference play starts next week.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's a great primer before you get into SEC play. And when you think about these in-state games, you've seen Auburn play Samford, Jacksonville State. I mean, how important do you think it is for Auburn to be able to get these teams in the state of Alabama playing there at Jordan-Hare Stadium?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you got guys who play for Samford and Alabama State and Jack State and all of the other schools. I mean, all those that you mentioned. And I think Auburn's got a game against Alabama A&M in there somewhere in the last 8-9 years. These guys grow up mostly in the state of Alabama, and a lot of them mostly dream of playing either for Auburn or Alabama. And obviously, most of them don't get the chance to do that. but they get a chance to play on the field. That's why I love having the Super 7 championships in either Tuscaloosa or Auburn, because you get a chance to play in these stadiums that you grow up dreaming of playing in. And for a lot of these guys too, they're playing against maybe some old high school teammates or old high school rivals anyway. That's exciting. It's special memories. And if you're going to play these games, and everybody's going to play these games, keep the money in the state and give a program that is not, I say this with tremendous respect for Samford. Samford's never going to challenge Auburn's space within the college football hierarchy.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. So help them build their program with a guarantee game versus going and playing somebody from Louisiana or Missouri or somewhere else.
Yeah, excellent point there. We're talking Auburn football. Brad Law with the Auburn Sports Network. They'll be broadcasting, of course, the game with Samford tomorrow. What's the details? How can folks listen and everything tomorrow to the Auburn-Samford game?
Well, look, if they're watching this on YouTube anyway, I'll tell you, the Auburn Tigers YouTube page, we will have video not only of the Tiger Tailgate Show, which will start at 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon, but the actual game broadcast itself. You can watch Andy Burcham and Jason Campbell. And Gene Dulaney, who's our spotter and statistician, he's the real star of the live video stream because you get to see what he's doing in between those guys. And that'll start, I think kickoff is 6:02 for the game. But we have a great time on the radio, on YouTube, and we appreciate every single person who tunes in and listens or watches.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it tomorrow. Brad, really appreciate you hopping on with us, talking some Auburn Tigers. We'll do it again soon, but thanks for coming on with us.
Always a pleasure, Chase. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brad Law with the Auburn Sports Network here on Southern Sports Now. We'll jump to a break. More to come in a moment.